What happened to MS-13's deadliest hitmen will shock you. You may have heard about various gangs, but do you know which one has produced the most notorious hitmen? Any guesses? Well, the answer is the most dreadful of all, MS-13. But what happened to their deadliest hitmen will shock you to the core. Want to find out more? Stay tuned to this video. Step into the world of the most feared and notorious gang, MS-13. This gang has a reputation for violence and fear that will send shivers down your spine. From ruthless acts of violence to drug trafficking and extortion, their activities have shaken the criminal underworld. But what does it take to become a part of this exclusive and deadly brotherhood? The initiation process is not for the faint of heart, as aspiring members must first pass a harrowing test of loyalty that involves committing murder. If they survive, they are then beaten mercilessly by gang members before being officially accepted into the gang. It's no wonder that only the most ruthless and fearless individuals make it through. But what happened to their deadliest hitmen? Let's talk about them one by one. 1. Garcia Gomez, a member of the MS-13 gang, was given 35 years in prison for his role in the 2015 murder of a 19-year-old. In addition to the Newark Field Office of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, the investigation included the FBI, the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office, the West New York Police Department, and HSI. Scooby was a member of the Pinos Locos Salvatrucha subgroup of the larger Mara Salvatrucha. Garcia Gomez, according to court documents and evidence presented at his co-defendant's trial, conspired to participate in MS-13's affairs. MS-13 is a transnational criminal organization founded in Los Angeles and active in numerous states across the United States, El Salvador, Central America, and Mexico. As Jose Urias Hernandez entered his home in July 2015, Garcia Gomez shot him in the back of the head to kill him. He killed because he wanted to join the MS-13 gang, which has a policy of zero tolerance for law and police cooperation and a standing order to kill rival gang members. There were a total of 9 people charged in connection with the MS-13 investigation in New Jersey, including Garcia Gomez. There are 3 more defendants who have been found guilty at trial and will receive mandatory life sentences when they are sentenced. Law enforcement is dedicated to disrupting MS-13 and apprehending its members, and the investigation is still open. Investigation of transnational crime and threats falls within the purview of HSI and ICE's ERO Directorate. Their focus is on criminal organizations that take advantage of international transport and financial systems. Achieving justice for victims of violent crimes and enforcing immigration law depend critically on their efforts. Ernesto Miranda, better known as Smokey, was an initial member of the notorious Mara Salvatrucha street gang, which was founded on the streets of Los Angeles and later exported to Central America. The Mara Salvatrucha street gang is also known as MS-13. A former soldier in El Salvador's lengthy and violent civil war, Miranda moved to Los Angeles, seeking to escape the horrors. But he found plenty more in the streets of LA's Pico Union neighborhood, where he banded forces with other young Salvadorian immigrants to form what would become one of the most notorious gangs in the city. During this time, he was also involved in a number of violent crimes. Miranda was deported back to El Salvador as part of an operation to eradicate the MS-13 gang, and it was in El Salvador that he appeared to turn his life around. At the age of 38, he was a devoted parent who was also attending law school, fighting to keep children away from criminal gangs and advocating for more human rights for incarcerated individuals. All of that came to an end one night when he was shot and killed at the doorway of his home in a village outside of San Salvador. This occurred just a few hours after he declined an invitation to celebrate the prison release of a member of the MS-13 gang. Alejandro Enrique Ramirez Umana is the first gang member to be condemned to death in a federal court in the United States. On December 8, 2007, Umana was found guilty of murder in the deaths of Ruben Garcia Salinas and Manuel Garcia Salinas, who were brothers. In a family restaurant in Greensboro, North Carolina, witnesses said Umana shot and killed Ruben Garcia Salinas in the chest and Manuel Garcia Salinas in the head after the brothers insulted the MS-13 gang signs by calling them fake. 5 days after the murder, Umana returned to Charlotte with the help of MS-13 and was captured with the murder weapon. Evidence presented at trial indicated that Umana was also responsible for additional killings and had orchestrated attempts to eliminate potential witnesses and informants while he was detained awaiting trial. Umana was found guilty of multiple offenses, including murder and racketeering, extortion, and tampering with or intimidating a witness. On June 23, 2008, a federal grand jury accused Umana after hearing testimony from those who claimed he was an MS-13 veteran who had come to Charlotte illegally to help reorganize the local MS-13 cell. Associate Attorney General Lanny A. Brewer characterized the sentencing of Umana as sending a clear message to gang members. The Charlotte investigation has resulted in charges against 26 MS-13 members so far, with one suspect still detained in El Salvador. The jury found Lenise Escobar, a woman from Long Island, guilty of leading more than a dozen members of the violent MS-13 gang to the death of 4 young men she had lured. Authorities allege she was a complicit plotter in the 2017 slaughter as a juvenile member of the gang before faking her own death in the ambush. At a park at Central Islip, the victims were lured after being threatened and then attacked with machetes, knives, and tree limbs. Escobar was accused of racketeering in connection with 4 murders, although she maintained her innocence. Escobar was accused of trying to win over MS-13 by tipping them off to the victims' whereabouts in a wooded area. She then took a group of 5 young men into the woods, where gang members armed with clubs and machetes awaited them. Of the 5 young men, 4 were executed and 1 managed to escape and become the government's star witness during their 3-week trial. Prosecutors claimed that the MS-13 gang leadership had pre-authorized the killings and that those who participated in the violence may expect to be accepted into or promoted within the gang as a result. Escobar allegedly threw away her phone and the clothing she had been wearing the night of the murders because they were too soiled. The defense attorney for Escobar expressed disappointment with the verdict but claimed his client remained composed after learning of her conviction. Escobar's defense team tried to paint her as a frightened teenager who had just witnessed 4 terrible murders, but the jury was not persuaded. Although many MS-13 members were born in the United States, the gang mostly recruits young people from El Salvador and Honduras. Since January 2016, the gang has been responsible for dozens of homicides across much of Long Island, and the murders of 2017 brought national attention to the region's MS-13 problem. On the 5th anniversary of the men being enticed to their deaths, a jury found Escobar guilty of all charges after deliberating for less than 4 hours. A life sentence is possible for her. The relatives of the deceased guys have all disputed rumors that their loved ones were gang members. On December 23, 2004, members of the MS-13 gang were responsible for a heinous crime that sent shockwaves throughout Central America. Juan Bautista Jimenez was at the center of this atrocity. The government of Honduras had been taking significant measures against the gang, but this had the reverse of the intended impact. Jimenez and other members of MS-13 carried out a mass murder as a means of protest, and the repercussions of their actions were felt across the country. Before taking their depravity to a new level, they had attacked a bus carrying vulnerable women and children, showering it with gunshots as they opened fire on it. Jimenez entered the bus and proceeded to murder each and every passenger on board. There were 28 people who lost their lives as a direct result of this incident. This act of callousness for human life provided further evidence that the gang in question was responsible for what the authorities and the general public had already suspected. Even though Jimenez was apprehended and sentenced to prison in 2007 for his role as the massacre's mastermind, eventually his own gang members would turn against him. He was killed by prison guards' bullets because they didn't appreciate the attention he was bringing to the gang, which is why they killed him. The violent slaying of Juan Bautista Jimenez is a sobering reminder of the MS-13's propensity for cruelty and violence, as well as the group's willingness to take the lives of their own members when it serves the organization's goals. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe to our channel.